Hey everyone, is everyone in a good mood? Almost. I mean, as being a pro-life activist, I'm as good mood as you can be in. Babies are still dying, so this is a big deal though. Planned Parenthood, by a vote of 1, thank you JD Vance, Planned Parenthood was just defunded for 1 year of $500 million of our taxpayer dollars. This is something that the pro-life movement, especially Students for Life, since I launched Students for Life 19 years ago, has been working on. I literally hosted the first defund Planned Parenthood rallies in 2008 when I was pregnant with my first son. I employed a couple of folks that you are very well known who did the first undercover project of Planned Parenthood to prove that Planned Parenthood was really racist. And then when those videos were released by a new organization, that was my employees and interns. This has been something that personally we've been doing for a very long time. Big deal. Babies are going to be saved. Planned Parenthood has already started running round the clock, almost like PETA ads on CNN with really crappy B-roll saying, please pledge now. You get a crappy little t-shirt if you donate monthly. Good news, they're going to be defunded. It's a great first step. However, and this is why all my friends in Capitol Hill hate me, I'm not completely happy. Why am I not completely happy? Because the max we could have defunded Planned Parenthood for was 10 years. That's what the House courageously and diligently fought for and put in the budget. This is why Students for Life was honored, why I was honored to give an award to Speaker Mike Johnson this Friday at the National Celebrate Life Gala, because he did something everyone said it was going to be impossible to do. Everyone told us. But the House did it. They got the job done. Even with like 20 pro-choice Republicans, the House got it done, okay? Why did the Senate whittle it down from 10 to 1? We have no idea. In fact, I've been reaching out to Senator Thune's office for just a reasonable explanation. I've been assured from my friends who work on the Hill that this had to be done. I'm not really sure of that because, to be honest with you, the Republicans, especially in the Senate, have a history of negotiating down with themselves. So we don't know if it was some deal made with the I don't know if she's pro-choice, but probably the Democratic appointed unelected Senate parliamentarian, if they felt like they had to do it to keep it in the bill and it was some backroom dealing. We don't know. We have no idea. We've been given no explanation as to why the Senate GOP went from 10 years defunding to 1. Why do I care about this? Why can't I just be happy about 1 year? I'm happy. I know babies are going to be saved, but I also know we could have done more. We could have done more on this. And when you think about defunding 1 year versus 10 years, Planned Parenthood has already basically issued memos to all of their Democratic governor friends, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, Gavin Newsom in California, Kathy Hochul in New York, basically begging them to give them more for state taxpayer money to make up for this $500 million they're going to lose next year. And they're already in financial trouble, right? Because we've seen about 20 of their clinics just from the beginning of January say that they're closing down. And majority of those clinics, by the way, are in Democrat states, not in the Republican states, where they're like, oh, we always have to cut care for women in Republican states. That's actually not true. So this is big, but we could have done better. And now we need to go back and say, you need to go back and do this for 10 years. Because word on the street on Capitol Hill is that they've already started talking about the second budget reconciliation bill, and they may even start on it before the end of the year, which would be huge because they could get it done before the midterms. The closer you get to an election with Congress, the less they're going to do, especially things that are controversial. So we need to push the Senate and the House to get another reconciliation bill up and running as fast as possible, and they need to go for 10 years in that budget reconciliation, or 9 years in that budget reconciliation, or 5 years, whatever they can do, and we need to keep pushing them, because here's the deal. $500 million is going to hurt. This is basically a pause on 80% of Planned Parenthood's federal forced taxpayer funding. This is their Medicaid funding. This is going to hurt, but it's not the end of the game. They could still stay. They've been saying they're going to have to close a third of their clinics. Maybe, but if they know it's just 1 year, maybe they get a loan and float it. 10 years can make them go bankrupt. So this is what we need to do. We've already proven now with the Senate vote, with the House vote, that the Senate parliamentarian, the way that it was written to defund Planned Parenthood, big abortion, passed what's called the Byrd rule in the Senate. Meaning, if you can do it for 1, you can do it for 10. So our work is not done. If you can, go to my X and you will see like the next 4 steps. I did like a tweet series just now, and at the end of the tweet series, I do 4 of our next steps. The first step we can do right now is folks to start contacting the Small Business Administrator, Kelly Loeffler, former Senator Kelly Loeffler, President Trump appointed her SBA administrator, and tell her to start debarment proceedings on Planned Parenthood. As I just said a few minutes ago, this bill will defund them of 80%. Their Medicaid money, right? Their forced Medicaid money, which is the majority of their money, which is money we've never been able to debar from Planned Parenthood. So still a big deal, okay? But to get to 100%, you have to debar Planned Parenthood. Debarment is something that happens at the administrative level. It's not congressional. Debarment says, and this happens all the time to government vendors, like if the government gives a vendor money to build a bridge and then they can't build the bridge on time, or they shortcutted the process and didn't use the right materials and everything has to get rebuilt, or somebody, the contractor pockets the money. If the government finds that the vendor didn't act in good faith and didn't do what you need to do, right, they can be debarred. And if they're debarred by the agency that they frauded or they messed up the contract with. But it doesn't just stick with that one agency. It's government wide. And debarment means you can't apply or receive federal funds for 3 years. So if we want to see Planned Parenthood 100% defunded, we have to debar Planned Parenthood. That's why you've been seeing in all my messaging for the past few years, defund and debar. And people are like, what the hell is she talking about? She's crazy. Debarment is the next logical step. And word on the street, well, we already know this, because of the Paycheck Protection Program during COVID, we know Planned Parenthood took over $80 million of the COVID Paycheck Protection Program money, which they weren't qualified to do because they're not a small business. They're a gigantic $1 billion plus business, right? They were supposed to pay it back after we proved they had taken this money illegally, and they never did. So SBA, the Small Business Administration, who was in charge of this Paycheck Protection Program, should start debarment proceedings internally immediately. So you need to start, and I know this is weird. You're like, I've never heard of contacting the SBA administrator. Trust me, I know, but this is very, very important. So step 1 is starting to debar Planned Parenthood. Step 2 is demanding, and the second budget reconciliation bill, which word on the street is that they're going to try to do it soon, they need to defund Planned Parenthood for whatever the legal maximum amount is, because they've already proven they can do it. Step 3 is maybe you should throw yourself a little celebration party. I know so many of you have been working hard. I've been so bossy for the past 2 months. I mean, I'm like a trad boss over here, right? But you've been going to offices, you've been making calls, you've been sending text messages, you've been signing petitions, which our staff and students always deliver, by the way. When you sign petitions, we're not some fake organization, like we're for reals. Ask my staff who has to print all the petitions when they want to hurt me, okay? We do the real work. And the pro-life generation, you all have been doing the real work for months now. Actually for years, because many of you have been hosting our defund Planned Parenthood events on campuses, taking the flack from your friends and from your, the campus administrators, from your professors. We've been doing the work. So we do deserve a little bit of a praise. And so I would put a press release out. I'm probably going to get in trouble with my DC friends because I didn't praise the Republicans for doing the, obvious thing. I actually praised the pro-life generation for all your all's tireless work. So give yourself a little round of applause. Open up your non-alcoholic wine cooler that I know Gen Z loves. Do whatever you need to do today to take a little bit of a celebration, because we just saw Planned Parenthood lose $500 million for 1 year. And we know for a fact that it's going to save babies. And then tomorrow morning, wake up and be more committed than ever to join us to debar Planned Parenthood, to fully defund them of all of our taxpayer dollars. So there's your action steps for today. I hope you all are as proud as I am that we've gotten this far. And just for the record, everyone said this was going to be impossible. Like going into this year, people said it was going to be impossible. President Trump kind of backed away from his past pro-life stance. Everyone said it was going to be possible. We weren't going to be able to pass it with the House because of the pro-choice Republicans, which, by the way, stop electing pro-choice Republicans, people in New York and California. That would be helpful. It got done in the House. We got something out of the Senate. John Thune owes us an explanation of why it went from 10 to 1. I think this guy behind me might have had something to do with it, but not Minnie. She wasn't involved, but Jesus. is celebrate today that babies will be saved. Celebrate that your hard work paid off to do something that everyone thought was impossible. And then I hope you will recommit to join me in doing all that we can to finally defund and debar Planned Parenthood forever, so they shut down their offices forever. Okay, guys? And by the way, we know that, there's probably some smart ass person in the comments who's a pitchfork pro-lifer who's like, this isn't going to end abortion. Yes, we know. We're not stupid. Defunding Planned Parenthood, shutting down Planned Parenthood is not going to be the only thing we have to do as a pro-life generation to abolish abortion, to make abortion unthinkable and illegal in our lifetime. But it's one of the first big steps in the post-Roe era. And when you're going to do something this big, you got to kind of have an action plan. And defunding, debarring Planned Parenthood is number one. Bye, everyone.